Hello friends, fans, and dairy products of all ages. This is Cheese of Ages here, and I thought it was about time that I rise to the occasion and talk about a champion that's been imprisoned in unviability except as a niche pick in competitive play for quite a while now. So root yourselves in place for a bit while I make more easy puns that are terrible and talk about Ryze. The Renegade Mage, or Rogue Mage, or whatever it is. I don't care. Anyway, recently, in the most recent patch of the making of this video, 6.3, Ryze was nerfed into the shitter. This has caused a stink on Reddit, because apparently they don't get the concept that was told over and over again in context assurances via tweets, and then right there in the patch notes in an enormous section dedicated to explaining the change. The change is that instead of his cooldown reduction enabling him to chain together like as many spells as he can press buttons within a period of time of 5 seconds, I believe it was, enabling you to basically perma-root a motherfucker, you can only get a chain off of a limited size. So essentially the change amounts to you can root a dude for a reasonably sized amount of time, instead of you can root a guy in place so long that he misses the college graduation of the kid that he didn't know he had because he left for battle with you before his wife could tell him she was pregnant. That kid had to grow up with the stigma of having a father that was in rune prison. I hope you're happy, Ryze mains. Anyway, I promise the puns will end now. I'm done. But anyway, yeah, I say but anyway too much. Essentially, as explained in the patch notes, that the Reddit seems to not really freaking fully understand. This is a change meant to enable them to balance Ryze moving forward. They pretty much explicitly said, we expect this change to put Ryze in the shitter, but we're going to let him be in the shitter for a little bitty bit so we can assess exactly what we need to change to boost him up as a compensation buff without overbuffing him. And honestly, we all know that this is the change that they always should have made from the get-go. When the rework came out, he was so freaking toxically overpowered, he just would mow motherfuckers down and permanently root motherfuckers. And since he builds Rod of Ages and other healthy health items and shit to do his shit, he's tanky for a mage. So if you built around him, he would just be completely unstoppable. And in a solo lane situation, whether it be top or mid, he was just something you couldn't duel. There was a skill cap to it, but not a high one. And because of how weird it was and how it worked, it took a little while for people to realize how powerful it was. So they buffed him prematurely, which is the reason why they're so very sensitive about not releasing champions who have overpowered nowadays and want to scale him back and are very slow to buff things. It's because of the Ryze rework that he became just a disaster. Somewhat the same thing happened with the Fiora rework. But yeah, anyway. After this condition happened, they was okay, we like the perma-root thing that is actually the problem, so we're going to retain that and just nerf his numbers on everything so that he can only do that in a late game and he needs to get fed to do it. And they nerf him to the point where he's still okay in the right skilled hands, but he's otherwise complete shit and he's very feast or famine. So basically, I think they may have nerfed him multiple times and essentially put him in the dirt. But people like Faker still really highly performed with him because the problem was still there. Somebody with super high mechanical skill that just is about good picks and good mechanics could just destroy with Ryze even nerfed into the ground. and you can make really good picks with him when you can hold the guy down until his freaking family is aged to death. He's like got a beard longer than the freaking lane. He's just not been able to shave for so long because you've stuck him there. Now it's a much shorter cap on how long you can root him, and you have to be particular about how you initiate your combination to maximize it. And his numbers are still shit. Because they pulled a Hi-Rez, or a Zeus if you want to be more specific. Back in the beta, Hi-Rez was like doing things, and Zeus, who was not really super great, even now, was a problem. He was pretty much permaban for ages, and it was left unchecked for ages. And then they finally listened to the community. One face of the community getting really snippy about it, saying, "Oh, it's not necessary," when they finally actually fixed the problem. They did the same thing. They nerfed everything about Zeus but the problem because they liked the problem, even though it was a problem. Like, oh, we like machine gun perma root Ryze. Even though it's completely unhealthy in the game and it's clearly the problem. Oh, we like Zeus being able to AoE an entire team fight, and if you either do not successfully kill him or you don't run out of the area, you instantly lose the team fight. Because he can just, like, put that there, play safe, and then detonate and stun your entire fucking team. He was permaban solely for that reason. And when they nerfed him into the ground to where he was like much easier to kill in that situation, he was still permaban. Even though he was kind of crap, he was still regularly banned just because of that problem until they took the problem away finally. And then he never saw play, never saw bans, and was just almost the worst god champion in the entire game for ages and ages, to the point where they had to rework him to actually make him remotely playable, because they were so stupid they nerfed everything but the problem, then the problem. You don't want to make a champion where, oh, the problematic thing, that is a good thing, so let's make it so that is all he has, so we can keep it. If something is just downright unquestionably unhealthy in the game to the point where you have to nerf everything else about them to make it fair, you need to fix that. You don't need to pull a Zeus or a Ryze. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the particular situation, my thoughts on it. They've nerfed Ryze into the ground now even further because they nerfed everything else about him but the problem, and now they've nerfed the problem. So, yeah, of course he's going to be complete shit. However, Hi-Rez wouldn't say this, or have the common decency to say this, but Riot has said explicitly, right there in the patch notes, that they are purposely doing this change, putting him in the shitter, and then they're going to buff him out of that, so they can see exactly what they need to do, aside from reverting this change, because they shouldn't do that, to buff everything else back up to appropriate values over time, carefully and precisely. I feel bad for the Ryze players that are Ryze mains, how the play rate on that guy is really freaking low, so honestly, it's not as many people as the Reddit would like you to think. But yeah, I feel sorry for those people that really liked playing Ryze and were Ryze mains, because he's complete shit now. But Riot's going to buff him in future patches once they've seen his performance and how he executes things and what areas they could buff to fix him so where he's in a balanced state. They've nerfed the thing that was keeping him from being in a balanced state, and now they can put him in a balanced state in the future. They've said it outright. Stop bitching about it. It was a necessary change that needed to be done, and with how Ryze's kit is, it's really hard to approximately calculate compensation buffs. They've never done it right in the past with Ryze. So yeah, I'm not a Ryze player, so my being okay with them doing this has no wrecking merit. But if they took a champion that I mained, like Talon for instance, and they like nerfed the shit out of one of aspect of him, and then like made him complete crap, with the statement that they were going to like gauge what they need to do for compensation buffs in the future, I would be perfectly fine with that. It's like, okay, if he's going to be like a balanced, if this thing here that they're nerfing the shitter is a problem keeping them from being balanced, I'm fine with you like giving me compensation buffs after you've properly calculated everything and have everything set. I mean, they can't really test that accurately on the PvE because they're complete doofuses and don't like make it an actual public beta environment like Hi-Rez does theirs. But yeah, I would be fine in any champion that I play if it were problematic like Ryze is, getting treated like this. As long as they are reasonably prompt about the compensation buffs, and they're good buffs, and it adjusts it correctly. I'm even fine with them like actually overbuffing or underbuffing him a little bit, and then adjusting it again in another patch. Sure, it'll be a month before he's in a completely balanced state, but then he'll be good. Everything will be healthy, and then the champion will be stable and sound and not need changes for a while. Theoretically speaking. So yeah. Stop rising up and sit the fuck down about your complaints. No, just like, oh, you nerfed him, he's pooped now. Talk about what compensation buffs would be good. Constructive critique. Don't be a whiny little bitch. This is Cheese of Ages, signing out. Good game.